Discount Podcast.
Welcome in, you cheap beggars, to Discount, the bargain bin gaming podcast hosted by three hosts so small we are the amount of sunshine you see in a British summer.
Yep.
I am plus 50 coins and 1.5 multiplier. I am a holographic foil joker. My name's Josh. I'm plugging in to player 2.
I am running away from Mother in the basement because my tears can kill. I'm Darren, hello. And grinding away for hours on hours, blood, sweat and tears, just to try again with a slightly bigger stick.
I'm just a little satanic sheep who likes to build things and eat poop. It's Kerry.
Yeah, but what's your intro though?
Yes, hello, we're here with another fight episode. Actually, the final fight episode of the season, where we will be working out who is the biggest loser and ultimately why I'm such a good winner.
I mean, it's all of us. We make a gaming podcast.
We say that at the moment the standings currently are. Is it me and Darren joint at the moment?
No, it's me and Karis joint, and you're one ahead.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, me one ahead. So realistically, the only way that it comes to a three-way loss is if both Karis and Darren joint win this episode. But if either of them win on their own, the other person is going to be the loser.
Have we decided on a forfeit?
We normally do the long stream.
The long stream.
The long stream.
It's going to be fucking... Fuck. Guys.
It was coming out of my mouth.
You spent too much time together. Oh my god.
But yes, it'll probably be the long stream, but we'll get back to you about what that's going to be. We'll see what it is when we get to the end of the episode. So here we go. Should we, before we jump into this new episode of us fighting over roguelikes and stuff like that, have a little look at the last episode and go into the vault? Can you open the doors, guys? Well, that's a lot of music just for opening a door, but that's fine.
Obviously, like, a lot of that gets faded out into the music, but I don't know why I went up at the end.
No.
I went, ooh, ah.
Ooh, ah. Just like a 1980s man, just going around and tell your, what's his name? Al Pacino in, is it Scent of a Woman? I think it is.
Why are you asking me?
Don't know. All right. But yes, let's look at the vault. So we have a game to put in the vault. This is from our last episode, which was Fish, where we had three
games.
Three fish games that were all good.
They're pretty good.
I mean, I think they're varying levels. People like certain ones more than the others. We had Maneater, Spiritfarer, and Subnautica. All of which we've now... by the time this comes out, will have been streamed. So if you want to find out more, do check it out on our YouTube at disccountpod. But we asked you guys which one was your favourite. One of these three did not get a single vote.
Is it Maneater?
It is indeed.
Maneater.
Unfortunately, Maneater didn't get a vote, so Maneater is definitely not the favourite. And if you are to watch the stream, you can see me get quite bored during it, and it's a game to play in pieces or whilst doing something.
Yeah.
So I understand why that is not in contention.
Yeah.
The other two, however... One kept pulling away, then it got to 50-50, then another pulled away, then a 50-50. It was very neck and neck, but one of them has won by one single vote. What game do you reckon is going into the vault, you two?
I flip-flop on this one a lot.
Yep.
I think that Subnautica is the more beloved game. And I think it's probably maybe... I don't know. I go back and forth on which one's better. I want it to be Spiritfarer, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Subnautica.
That's fair. Where do you land?
I think it's going to be Spiritfarer. I don't know why. I just think I've got a bit of a feeling about it. I think it's got enough of like a devoted following for it to go in. I just have a feeling.
And there is no Spiritfarer below 0 to make people a little annoyed by the game, so that makes it better. You are both correct, though. Spiritfarer is the one that has gone into the vault.
Nice.
Very close. It could have easily been Subnautica that went in there. And I wouldn't have been upset by either of them going in there.
Exactly.
So it's a good addition to our vault. So Spiritfarer purchased by Keris. Real runaway episode with Spiritfarer last episode.
Just a good game.
So well done, Keris.
Yay!
Wonder if she can continue to do the same in the next one.
I doubt it.
What a lovely game
We'll
where
see.
animals die.
Well, yeah, we all love dead animals.
Yeah. My favourite.
Do you want to close it and we can have a little look to see if Keris does survive with another game purchase?
Trying to stealth close the door?
Like, voice effects.
Okay.
She is a woman of many skills.
I am an actress.
Fair.
A voice actress.
Yes.
A voice actress.
Yes, so we'll be looking at this week's fight. So, we had a random topic come from the random genre generator last
We did.
What was that topic, Keris?
It was roguelike.
Was it roguelike or roguelite? What one was it?
Like.
It was like, was it?
Roguelike,
Yeah.
What is that, Darren?
It's games like Rogue.
What is it actually, Darren?
It's games like Rogue.
Okay,
It's a game from the 1980s,
Yeah.
I want to say, called Rogue. And the idea was you would do runs through randomly generated areas, and then you would just start again if you died or failed.
So what is the difference between that and a roguelite?
A roguelite is a game in which you get incremental upgrades or improvements for each run. So
Okay.
a true roguelike is you start from 0 every time,
Yep.
and then you go through, and you might unlock new things, but you always start from 0. Like an example of that for me would be the game Dead Cells,
Yep.
where you unlock new weapons and items you can find, but you always start with the same shitty sword shield bow. Or like you can upgrade so you change which of those, like you can get a random one,
Yeah.
but you always start with just a weapon and then pick up more stuff.
And then an example of a roguelite then?
Something like Hades,
Yes.
where you have the mirror, where you get like upgrades to your health, your strength. Like you can get better boons, you can get better whatever.
So realistically, last one when you pulled the random generator and you said that the best one had already been taken, technically
Technically, it wasn't. Well, I mean,
wasn't.
it technically falls under that.
yeah, they're sort of interchangeable. But I mean, when
Yeah.
it gets down to arguing which is more accurate, if someone's got a roguelite
Yeah.
instead of a roguelike, then maybe
I sort of bundle it as a like all roguelites are roguelikes, but not all roguelikes are roguelites.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
That was confusing, so-
No, I got it. I followed it.
I didn't.
I
I
was
said it.
smiling and nodding. And yes, I'm very smart.
Yes,
I'm very smart.
yes.
There were lots of games that could have been bought for this one, and I know at the end of the last episode we were talking about who we were going to be buying for, but we changed it because we realised it was the last episode, and
Yeah, we
we've done
remember
it
how we've always done the last
always
episode.
in the last episode, which is we
Yeah.
bought for ourselves.
Yeah.
So obviously it makes it a bit more difficult because you are vying for every single point based on your one game, which is fun. It is a fun way to do it, and there are a lot to choose from based on what you wanted. But we'll go with the order that they arrived in before we talk about what we thought about buying.
Yeah.
And the first one that came, unsurprisingly, was Josh buying for himself.
Yeah.
Because Josh buying for himself is always number one.
Yeah.
And I bought myself, it was actually a double bill, but the one I bought was Enter the Gungeon.
Nice.
Enter the Gungeon. So I'll give you an idea what Enter the Gungeon is. Enter the Gungeon is a 16-bit...
Yeah.
I think it's 16-bit, not
Why
an
not?
8-bit
Yeah.
style, but 16-bit style roguelike where you start in this dungeon at the top of a dungeon. The Gungeon. You go through a little intro what you need to do, but then each time you can choose between one of 4 characters, and you enter the Gungeon, and you can roll through shots and roll over like big gaps. You uncover more areas of the map, and you find more guns and cash which you can buy, upgrade, move it. When you die, you come back to the start. There are 5 levels for you to make it through, and once you've beaten the 5th level, you've escaped the Gungeon, I assume. I wouldn't know. I never got that far. Story-wise, it seems like you uncover more and more characters who are trying to do things. So there's like some people who have a shop that you can save from a place and you can buy more upgrades to find, not upgrades, but it's like you buy like the gamma gun and you can find the gamma ray gun when you go in there instead of which you couldn't do before. And there's like people who are trying to sort out the elevator for you to start lower levels if you want to. I think there's a cartographer who wants to map the entire dungeon as well. But essentially, it's going through, as you'd expect, in a roguelike. You start at the beginning, you push through without much story, because it's very simple. It's like, this is going to be hard. and all the bosses are fucking weird, which is what you expect. And the weapons are a little odd as well. I don't think there's much else to say about it, but obviously they made a sequel called Exit the Gungeon, which you can also get, which isn't as well received as the first one, which is why that's what I've gone with. Second game to arrive was Keris's, I believe. What did you get, Keris? What did you buy?
Got Returnal.
Yes.
I don't know why. I went to call it something completely different, and I was like, that's not what it's called.
I was going to say, if you can't remember the name of your game, automatic loss.
Enter the Returnal. Exit the Returnal.
No, Returnal. Yes, I got Returnal.
Okay, and what is Returnal?
Returnal is basically a kind of like roguelike third-person shooter where basically your ship crash lands on like an alien planet and you're basically trying to get off it. You're trying to, survive, basically. And every time you die, you go back to the beginning and yeah. That's it, really.
There's a bunch of story in Returnal, though. You slowly find more and more.
And you find, as you go along, you find, logs of things that have happened, and you find different, almost like clues as to what's going on and how you got there in the first place. And it's interesting.
I would argue it's probably got more story than most roguelikes, because you've got bits where, I don't know how far you got, Karis, because you didn't get far enough in the runs to get there, but, you find a spaceman little item, and then you can go into the house, you get a weird flashback to a child thing, and you get all this. And then as you go forwards, more and more stories where is she here? Is she not here? And it is an actual full narrative there, and it looks superb.
It definitely is a roguelike that comes under more of the I would say psychological horror kind of genre, which is really interesting. It does that very well too. So yeah.
And it makes full use of the haptic trigger feedback, doesn't it, as well? Yeah. So that was the other game. That was the second game. And Darren got his game last. What did you purchase,
For 2 episodes in a row, I decided what I was going to buy quite early and then just forgot to fucking buy it. Because I'm really forgetful. But I purchased Risk of Rain 2. Yep. I also purchased a double bill, because my game with Risk of Rain, but I didn't know I was doing that.
Oh, did you not?
So it arrived and it put in the disc, it opened up and went, do I download 1 or 2? I'm like, I have both.
But 2 is the better received game.
I downloaded 2 because that's what I planned to play.
Yeah.
And so I stuck to that. Basically, the story of Risk of Rain 2 is you are stranded, crash landed on an alien planet. That's it.
I've heard this story before.
Oh no, but that plot keeps going.
And that's the whole
This
story.
is it. And from there, you are in sort of a third-person shootery sort of thing. It's like I would say, simplified pixel version of the kind of gameplay Returnal is going for.
Right.
Where it drops enemies fucking everywhere, and you just try and defeat enemies, you collect coins to get items out of chests, and the idea is you have an area, you're dropped in the area, you try and find the teleporter to move on to the next area.
Makes sense.
And there are final bosses, there are secret exits to the game, but generally the way you'll go is you go teleporter, fight a boss, next area, teleporter, fight a boss, next area, teleporter, fight a boss, next area, until you find an end.
Right.
Or you can just go infinitely, looping these areas until you decide you're done and you die. But that's generally the core of the game. You'll crash land on this alien planet with your equipment, and you just go until you find a way out of the loop or you die.
It's interesting, because obviously with something that... Obviously, we've had things like Metroidvanias in the past, where you can go, this is a Metroidvania, but this is the story, because a Metroidvania has a different thing. Whilst a roguelike is a little bit more stuck. It's more here's a different set of coat of paint to your roguelike, I suppose. I don't know, most of them don't have a lot of story, a lot of depth to them necessarily. I mean, I was trying to think of ones that do.
I'd say Hades has quite a lot of story, but Hades and Returnal both have the same vibe, where it's a story heavily built around the idea that it's looping.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas a Metroidvania, to use the same example, just has a story.
Yeah.
And the game's just all there. The story isn't built around oh, I can't go this way, but I'll have to come back later.
Yeah.
It's that's just the nature of it. Whereas a roguelike story is typically a looping thing.
Yeah.
An interesting twist on that is the plot, to use air quotes, that Dead Cells has.
Right.
Where you are basically an amorphous blob which possesses a body. And so the reason you're looping is you die and you just possess a new body at the start.
Oh, right.
It's basically you're in like a body pit.
That's
You just
fun.
possess a new body and start again.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Were there any... So, these are the games we've gone for. We've got those. Were there any other games you were looking at?
I tried so hard to buy Binding of Isaac. I wanted it so bad.
And I do not blame you, because it's one of those ones I was also looking at, but just, you can't get it. You
can't get it
They're like,
physically
here's a
for much.
collector's edition for close to £200. So I'm not buying that on a budget video game thing.
It's one of those, you could buy it, but every copy on eBay is people who know that it's not that wide. So it's like, starting at £45. I'm like, I'm not paying fucking £45.
No, that's it.
Like, to be fair, I was going to say, for a game I could buy digitally, but I think that same version is £50 digitally, so...
Is it?
I think the base version is a certain amount, but you can buy, like, the Afterbirth Repentance
yes.
version, what the fuck it's called, which is £50. I'm like,
That's
why?
insane, isn't it? So insane.
But it's a fucking amazing game.
Definitely. Anything else? Because I was definitely looking at that.
Yeah.
Hades, we obviously couldn't choose. Because
Yeah.
we wouldn't have done that.
Would have if could have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have liked to have given Hades a go. I would
should.
have. I also did want to cheat a little bit and do Cult of the Lamb again, but I can't do that. So I asked for your kind of opinion on it.
It's a tough category.
Like, only because I before this didn't really know what a roguelike was.
Yeah.
But I ended up on Returnal just because I remember Josh playing it and
It's fucking cool.
it looked cool. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I thought that was cool. Inscription's cool, but again, it's not all roguelike the whole way through.
Yes.
And also physical copy, again, difficult to get. Balatro, which was the intro, doesn't have a physical copy yet. Dead Cells
I
talked
thought of Dead
about, but again,
Cells,
it's
yeah.
a bit pricey. Even with the Castlevania one, you're probably looking about, because that's what you can basically get, is the only
Yeah.
Castlevania one now, which is about 20-25 quid. Yeah, there's a fair few out there. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got your Spelunkies, you've got your Darkest Dungeons, but everything really, it came down for me, was good ones that weren't over 20 quids, because they seem to have such a fucking corner on the market that they can just retain their cost, because most of them are
They're all
digital.
games that are like limited release.
That's
Like
it.
another one I wanted to buy was a digital only game, which I talked about ages ago, like back in the Paul
You
days.
say FTL.
No, it's called Loop Hero. I talked
Yes,
about it
yeah.
back in the Paul on the podcast days.
Yep.
But that's a cool roguelike that like twists the formula a bit. Again, that's more like heavily roguelite, but also it's digital only. But that's like cool conceptually and would have been interesting to play a bit more of.
Definitely.
FTL is also a good show.
Yes, it is.
Like,
There was
it's awesome.
There are so many in there, but it was just really hard to
They're
work
all
out
like
what to go for.
£5 digital games.
Yeah. Right. So, should we move into the actual fighting and work out who bought the best budget roguelike game?
Let's do it.
Round one, fight!
Did you somehow surprise yourself with a button you pressed?
Normally I push a button and it takes a good 2 seconds to come in. So I went, fuck you, we're going in immediately now.
It fought you.
Oh, it did, and it was a good fight. So if you haven't been here before, what we do now is we fight over 4 categories. The 4
Best
categories are most accurate, value for money, most entertaining, and play of the game. Usually the first 3 go to they still do. First 3 go to the person who bought the game, which is normally someone different to the person who played the game, but in this case, it's going to be all of us. And play of the game is the person who played the game. So there are 4 points up for grabs. The idea is you need a minimum of 2 to definitely win. And we try to avoid ties where possible.
Yeah.
I say where possible because I feel like this is going to be a weird one for the first category of most accurate.
Yeah.
So, roguelike, I would argue we have all bought a roguelike.
Okay.
Would you? I think we all have bought roguelikes.
Yes, to different extents, but I think so.
I mean, that's the base thing. We've all got a roguelike. That is it. Has anyone got more roguelite than roguelike?
I don't think so.
No. I think I don't think any of them. I don't think you can in Returnal. You just got upgraded weapons, but you do that as you go through. Gungeon has nothing. I don't. Risk of Rain, I assume, doesn't have anything either. So they are all roguelites. Likes, not lights, likes. So where do we go from here? What has anyone got any suggestions on how we differentiate these?
I have like the slightest argument in favour of Risk of Rain,
Go for it.
which is to me a major component of a roguelike is that you, even if you have these various upgrades, you start from 0 and you see how far you can get.
Yep.
And I think both, having played all 3, both Returnal and Gungeon have a mechanic in place where you can start later in that run.
Right.
Like, Returnal has the little teleporter bits where, say, like, you're on World 3, you do all of World 1, then you just go straight to World 3, you skip 2. And I think, like, later in the game, you just, once you've done World 5, you just skip it entirely.
Yes.
Like, it opens up the pit in the middle, and you just go straight from 4 to 6 then.
Open
up that fucking pit.
Yup.
Sorry.
And then Gungeon has, like, the elevator, where after you've done it a certain number of times, you can be like, I'm just going to start from floor 2, or I'm going to start from floor 3. Like, Risk of Rain differs slightly, because a lot of that is because it wants you to see the end.
Right.
Like, Returnal has a plot it's trying to get to the end of. Gungeon has sort of a plot it's trying to get to the end of. There's a mechanic of, like, the bullet that kills the past.
Yes.
And the idea is every run you build the bullet and you end the past of that character. Like, I think it's partly because of that Risk of Rain has nothing of that description. But I argue it's slightly more in line with the theme because the other ones give you the option to not start from square one. You can, like, start from floor 2, floor 3. You can go straight to World 3, World 5, whatever. You can go straight from World 1 to World 4 after you've done the World 3 boss. Whereas Risk of Rain is like, even if you have slight changes to your equipment, it's like, fuck you, World 1, 0, go.
I get that. It's that complete restart from the very beginning. You got no real choice how far back you go. I do see where you're going with that you think that's what is a true definitive. And it's hard to argue against it because I'm trying to think of anything to argue that the others are more roguelike in any other sort of way, because that's what we're looking for, which is the most accurate, which is the most like a roguelike. Because I want to argue Enter the Gungeon. I think if I was looking at them, I think Enter the Gungeon is actually more synonymous with the genre, which is the only reason I would say that that's potentially got a push. Because if you were like, think of a roguelike, Enter the Gungeon would probably pop into a head before Risk of Rain 2.
Yeah,
but
it would be like 3rd or 4th, I thought of.
That's it. It's one of those ones that I think is just more on the present point of what it is. Even though there's such a small thing to go for. It's hard to work out. I don't think do you have any opinion on trying to make Returnal the most accurate?
I'd be perfectly honest with you, not to be a total cop-out, but you guys know way more about these types of games than I do.
Well,
I could make one argument for Returnal.
Go for it.
The only argument I could make for Returnal, I think, is that I think it is the one where you have the least control over how you start your run.
Okay, yeah, because you do...
In Risk of Rain, you pick a character, and I think once you unlock it, you can, like, pick between 2 options for, like, an ability.
Right, okay.
And then Gungeon, you can pick, like, who you start as. Yeah. And I think there's a shop on the top floor where you can look like, more things to appear later in the...
Yes, you buy those, but that's later. They could just randomly appear. That's what it is. And,
like, Returnal it gives you a gun.
Yeah.
You go, okay.
It is the most basic start, but where your start point is different. Enter the Risk of Rain. You have to start at the beginning.
You have to start as well.
You don't really have any upgrades. You just got a character that plays slightly different. And again, that's the same with Gungeon has that, but has the ability to start later as well. So the way we're arguing it almost feels like you're saying that Gungeon is the least accurate there, which is fair.
But it also is like, as you say, the most synonymous.
I think realistically, if I think about a roguelike, if I think about what makes a roguelike, we have no upgrades at the beginning, and it is trying to do that run and get as far as possible. It's even though you think of things like, because even Cult of the Lamb, we talk about Cult of the Lamb, I know it's got 4 different areas, but you always start at the base of that area. I know you've got like upgrades to your weapons, but you start at the forefront. You think of, I'm trying to think of other roguelites that I've played. Hades, you always start
Hades is the one it comes to in my head.
You start at the beginning.
You start from step 1.
And push through. And I think that's sort of where you can argue it. So I will concede. I mean, I can concede to either point, but I think really Risk of Rain 2 potentially is the most accurate roguelike.
Of the 3, when I think about what like constitutes a roguelike, I think, and we'll get into this later, I think there are clear and obvious benefits to the other 2 games that Risk of Rain does not present.
Yes.
I think in terms of being an out-and-out roguelike, I think Risk of Rain fits that category best.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to concede and give the points to Risk of Rain 2. Mm-hmm. Karis, any opinions?
This is hard. It's hard because I want to argue for Returnal, but as I said, I don't have a lot of experience in them.
Well, to talk about you not having experience, I came in to ask how you were doing on the game when I first did it. I hate the fact I have to keep coming back to the crash ship, and I was like, "Yep, that's a roguelike."
Yeah.
So,
and I hated that. I'll be honest, I hated it.
Like Returnal is like a sequence of small roguelikes.
Yes.
But it is the fact that like once you beat the World 3 boss, you never have to beat the World 3 boss again. You can just go straight from 1 to 4 and cut out that middle bit. Whereas like a Hades, for example, every time you have to beat that fucking Hydra, you have to beat the fucking whatever his name is.
The Hydra's
3.
easy. I always find the first boss more difficult than the Hydra.
Yeah, what's the third boss? Who
You had
is
Meg,
my fucking
Hydra,
nemesis?
You had...
It's like Perseus and the Minotaur or
Yes,
something.
it was the two of them.
They're the fucking worst.
Yeah.
So you're
And
just trying to get to 4, but you have to beat them every time.
That's it.
And sometimes the build you end up with, even like the first boss will beat the shit out of you, and you're like,
Yeah, that's it. Points to Risk of Rain 2 then, I think, for this
I think
one.
so, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
most accurate
lovely.
goes to Darren.
Yeah.
Not his normal category.
No. Normally I shit the bed in most accurate.
But now he's going to try and win on value for money. But we'll see how that works out. We'll do it in order of them arriving again. So this is obviously our most maths-heavy one, where we go with how much it cost versus how long it takes to beat.
Yeah, numbers.
So Enter the Gungeon. I spent £10.50 on Enter the Gungeon. Main story to beat. This is all on how long to beat. Main story is 22.5. Mains and sides is 60.5. Completionist is 158.
Yep.
All styles 67.5.
Yeah.
It's a lot of content there,
It's a lot of
essentially.
content.
Even though, really, there's not, because it's a roguelike. It's the same content over and over again. The second game to arrive was Returnal. How much did you spend on Returnal, Karis?
£13.
Main story, apparently 19 hours.
Okay.
Mains and sides 30.5. Completionist 60.5. All styles 27.
That sounds right. I tried to think of how long I spent on it, and I think that's about right.
60 hours
Yeah.
to get the platinum. Yeah. Then we have Risk of Rain 2.
Yeah.
How much did you spend on that?
£10.95.
Slightly more expensive than Enter the Gungeon. Main story, 10.5 hours.
Yeah.
Mains and sides 42.5.
Yeah.
Completionist, 143 hours. All styles 45.5.
Yeah.
So a roguelike, I think, is really weird to sort of have as a main story
Yes.
time. Like, you look at them, 19 hours for Returnal, 10.5 for Risk of Rain 2, and Enter the Gungeon is 22.5.
I have no idea how you complete the main story of Risk of Rain, because it doesn't have one.
It's
What
a
do you
weird
do?
one. So do we look at mains and sides, or do we look at completionists? Because I feel like, or do we do all styles? Ultimately, though, it doesn't matter. If I'm being honest, it doesn't matter, because Enter the Gungeon is the longest on all of them,
Yeah.
and it was the cheapest game.
This is the thing. I would love to argue for Risk of Rain. I think Gungeon actually has something to aspire to.
Yes, I would also love to argue for Returnal, as it is a PS5 title.
Yeah.
To get it for the price you did is really good, and the type of game it is, I think it has almost more content in that time than the other games. But it's hard to argue 60.5 versus 150, 160 hours.
Yeah. It's better for the price as well. Yeah.
I think Risk of Rain is I'll get into this as well in the next category. Risk of Rain is, I think, your mileage will vary game.
Yeah.
And like I think Gungeon has an end to aspire to. It has the bullet to kill the past. If you want to see the ending
And
of all
Returnal
characters,
also has that sort of content,
and fight like their individual bosses, their end bosses. There is something to go to there.
Yeah.
To unlock everything in Risk of Rain probably does take the 140 hours. Whether you want to go through and put that work in is a different question.
So are we saying that Enter the Gungeon
think
is
so.
most accurate?
No, I think we're saying it's value for money.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's a point.
Don't try and steal the first point.
There's a point to Josh, which means realistically at this point there cannot be a tie.
No. Wow, it can be us.
There can be,
Karis
just can't be a Karis tie.
No.
But you can still win, Karis. You can get the last 2 points.
Yeah, good smash it.
Because we are now moving into most entertaining, and I feel like I know where this one's going to end up, but that's fine. Most entertaining. Who wants to go first for most entertaining?
I will go first.
Go on. How long did you play?
A few hours.
Yep.
I did really enjoy it. It's got a real nice feel to it. As I said, it's sort of got the same vibe almost as a Returnal. It's more zoomed out.
Right.
But it feels a lot floatier,
is it
a lot lighter.
top-down, or is
no,
it...
it's just 3D, like third-person shooter.
Okay.
From behind.
Right.
And it's sort of the angle is almost behind. It's quite low down.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of flying enemies. So it's just trying to give you every view in front of you and view above you. And it's got real nice floaty shooting to it. Like, you start with 2 characters, and every character has like an ability on every trigger.
Yeah.
And R2 is just shoot, R1 is dodge, and then you have L1 and L2 are like special abilities.
That's nice having special abilities.
It's pretty good, yeah. And the way it is built, I do really like the way progression works in this, because it could in theory be played infinitely.
Yeah.
Is you land on the planet in the dropship with your starting ability, and a timer in the top corner starts.
Okay.
And every 5 minutes, the game gets harder.
Okay.
The difficulty goes up every 5 minutes. So it's trying to encourage you not to piss about. And like, the aim of every area is you try and find the teleporter, which is hidden somewhere in this little area it spawned you in. I'm trying to think of something to compare the size of the areas to. I can't think of anything. It's not like massive sprawling areas, but you could spawn in and not be able to find the teleporter for the 5 minutes.
Right, okay.
It's got a lot of like little nooks and crannies everywhere. It's just got real nice, simple gunplay. It's very clearly meant to be played multiplayer.
Right.
This game is designed to be played co-op.
Which is why it helps in those spaces. You have 2 people looking for the teleporter. One person finds the
everyone can like split off in different directions. Everyone can like buy different upgrades.
When you say co-op, how many players does it play up to?
I think it plays up to 4.
Oh, is it 4? That's cool.
Yeah, and like, it's meant to be that clearly because you press the touchpad and the scoreboard comes up.
Right. Okay.
So it's meant to be played like a Left 4 Dead, like a Killing Floor, that sort of thing, where you have people in, and it's not wave-based, but it feels a bit wave-based. Like, enemies will spawn just randomly around you. You defeat them to get coins, to buy upgrades, you can like repair drones for a certain amount of money, you can buy healing items.
Right.
You open the teleporter, a boss spawns, you beat the boss, you wait for the teleporter to open, you go to the next area, you repeat.
Yeah.
It's a real nice, simple cycle of gameplay. It is very your mileage may vary.
Yeah. I get that.
You unlock new characters by doing certain criteria. So I know the first character I can unlock is by beating a 3-world run.
Yeah.
If you do the first 3 teleporter events without dying, you unlock a new character. If you do the first teleporter event 5 times successfully, you get another character.
Cool.
And there are artifacts you can find, which are like top-level modifiers, but they're not like individual character things. It's not like your damage goes up. It's just
it feels
like
like
more, spawn
the
less,
character unlock is very similar to like it is in Crypt of the Necrodancer. In that vibe, you do this amount of times, you do this sort of things. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'll be honest, I struggle with true roguelikes. I love Dead Cells. I struggle to play Dead Cells. I love Isaac. I struggle to play it.
Yeah.
Because if you get on a tough run, you're just on a tough fucking run.
That's it. Yeah.
And you'll just eat shit. And like, if you can find a lot of money, if you're not able to find a lot of upgrades, or the upgrades you get are not that great, you'll just get stomped by the boss. That'll be it.
Yeah.
And it can be a bit frustrating. Like, my play of the game will be about this. I 90% of the time get to the first teleporter and get fucking stomped by the boss, and that's just the end of the run.
Yeah.
And you start again. And it's a lot of it the luck of which boss you get, how many enemies you've been able to find, how many items you've been able to find. But it's like, it's great. Its core gameplay loop is super satisfying. It feels really nice to play. But, as I say, it is clearly meant to be played multiplayer. It is very dependent on how many items you're able to find, how long it takes you to find the teleporter, whether you're fighting the boss in easy or medium.
Yeah.
And, like, your mileage may vary. You may not get a lot out of it because there is so little of that progression. You're just going from 0 and hoping you find good shit.
That's it. You mentioned multiplayer. I was just like, does Enter the Gungeon allow multiplayer? Because it feels like it should, because you've got the multiple characters.
I feel like it's too cramped to offer multiplayer.
It says support co-op multiplayer.
Does it? I could see it being co-op.
It says it can, but it only works locally.
Okay, I could see it being a couch co-op thing where you're both like present on the same screen. Like, you'd have to drag the other person behind you, sort of thing.
So you get a 5th character called the Cultist. So when you can't see, you just get to do that. You can do it. I was just curious because I know Returnal as well didn't have multiplayer, but has since added a 2-person co-op in there. But yeah, I was just curious because like I don't equate multiplayer with roguelikes really, but it's weird that all 3 of these may actually allow some sort of...
It sort of has the gameplay structure of like a wave-based thing, but it's progressional. It's like a zombies where every like 2 waves, you move to a new map.
It's like a Gears Horde mode or something like that.
Yeah. Killing Floor is the one I most like with. You put them all in, you're just fighting in your own corners, and you find the teleport, everyone goes to the teleport and moves to the next thing.
That's it. Entertaining. Do I want to go next, or do you want to go next?
No, I can go next. So, I'm mixed feelings, because it is a genuinely incredible game, and I think I said this in our, PS Plus episode, that I didn't want to give too much away, but I'm on my summer holidays now, and this is something I want to dive back into to give it a bit more of a chance, because it is genuinely really incredible, and I had a good time on it to an extent, and I don't think that's down to the game. I think that's down to the fact that it's a roguelike, and we all know this, I like a linear game. I like to know I'm progressing. I like to know that I'm hitting certain points, because that's where I get my little dopamine rush from, but I don't get that with roguelike, because you always have to go back to the beginning. And so whenever I felt like I was making really good progress, I was finding keys, I was finding logs, I was like, yes, brilliant. And then I would inevitably die and feel like I'd lost all of that. And it just felt like that type of game. I felt like I can't win with this. Do you know what I mean? But that being said, it's a really, really immersive experience. So even if you don't like the type of game, it's really hard to stop playing once you start, because the worlds that you're in are beautiful. They're so interesting to look at. They're so interesting to kind of go around and explore in, and that's new for me because I'm not a big explorer. And I really enjoyed it, and the types of enemies that you get are genuinely really creepy, actually, and it's just a really interesting game. So it's a weird one for me because I was absolutely entertained by it, but I just feel that this type of game is not really for me. However, that being said, it's an entertaining game because I've just said that, and I still want to go back and give it another go.
It's got so much to it. I mean, you're talking about the enemy design and stuff. It's really cool. You go across, you find maybe a dead body, a corpse, which is of you, and sometimes it's got items on there. Other times you touch it and it fucking mutates, and then you have to fight whatever you were. The thing about what I like with Returnal that you don't see in this game, or I think in Risk of Rain, is you get certain points in your upgrades, you can potentially find those cases, which you can pay to go into. So if you die, you haven't lost your run, you just start back there. So you almost get midpoint checkpoints, which I think is a really nice addition, because you're making that cool, because you're like, do I save this to upgrade my gun, or do I do this? Or you go, fuck it, I'm doing really well, I'm gonna burn 50 of my 60 credits
to not go all the way back.
So I can keep pushing forwards. I think it has some really cool elements to it. The reload mechanic is beautiful in that game. I love the hit the bar, you're straight back, and everything feels
a good active reload.
It just feels nice. It feels like the dodging feels great. At no point does it feel sluggish. No. I think, which is, I do find with other roguelikes, it's plot into here, I'm going to plot into this room. This one, you're I'm here, I have to be quick, I'm going to be moving, because if I start to look in every corner, someone will get behind me. Which I imagine you get with the Risk of Rain, but it's that idea, you just sort of I think it's part of being a third person roguelike as well, that sort of over the shoulder is a different feel. But
I think Returnal's fucking cool. It's also fucking mean.
It is mean.
Yeah.
Some of those bullet hell rooms get real messy.
Well, it's sometimes I'm going here, and it's oh good, you've got 1,000 invisible creatures. There's also going to spawn a boss, a mini boss here, going on. Also, we've got these random things just dropping red balls on you. What the fuck is happening here? But the big selling point of Returnal compared to the other two is the story. Because the story is engaging and compelling, and you're what's going on here? And genuinely, I know I was talking about it, but the bit in the house, they're genuinely pretty fucking spooky when you're going around as am I a kid? Am I an adult? What's going on? You're this is.
It gave you something to look forward to in every run. Yeah. The thing with a roguelike is, if you're not making it to the end, it often feels like a bit of a lost cause. Whereas Returnal, you start moving through, you see a house, you're a house.
And then they go, what do I need? And you go, oh, you need a key. So you find the key, and then you can't find. Then there's no house that you can see. So there must be one on this level, which I don't have to get to the boss to beat the boss to get past this level to feel like I've achieved something. This is like, no, here it is. And I think at certain points, if you die enough, you spawn back in the ship instead of in front of the ship, and they give you more information that's in the ship. So it's some like, it constantly drip feeds you information to give you more stuff, so you're not feeling completely locked out of the game.
As we said before, it uses that format to tell an interesting story in the concept of the looping, where it will mess up like where you're looping from, where you're looping to. It does a lot of interesting stuff with that concept.
Yeah. Cool. Enter the Gungeon.
Yep.
God, I hate this game, but I love this game. No, I love this game. It is so unnecessarily hard, though. What I think is interesting about Enter the Gungeon is it's very simple. It's like R1 is shoot, L1 is roll.
Yeah.
Some of the other things get different abilities. The Marine is the main one I played with. It's the most simple one. It's because it has the best starting weapon. But you have other ones which have other abilities put in there. But most of the point is just L1, R1, triangle to change weapon, and that's pretty much the weapon. That's pretty much it. There are shops for you to buy items to unlock chests, because you find chests, but if you don't have a key, you have to go get stuff from there, but you also need health and armor and upgrade and blah, 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 blah. What I think is good about this, we're talking about, you need to upgrade to get through it. If this feels like a game you could just get good at.
Yeah.
And good.
100%.
But like, you could just be good and beat every boss with the base weapon. You could just sprint through everything if you wanted to. All of them have like a special ability, I think, or I don't know if blanks is a special ability or that's on everyone.
I don't remember.
But like you hit both the sticks and it just wipes out all the bullets on that area. But there's an ability there's an idea that you could roll through all the boss's bullets until he reloads, fire at him, do the same thing, use a blank if you need to, and you wouldn't have to be trawling through every area. I did, because that's how I play. I have to clear every map before 100%. I move down, hoping to find better stuff and never finding better stuff. Part of me thinks maybe with the first level I should just run, find the boss and go down to the next one, because I know I can beat it. And I like that there's a variation of bosses. It's not going to be the same boss at the end of each level. I think in level 1 there's like three different bosses you can be. Like you can either get, I think it's like Gatling Gull, which is
I like Gatling Gull.
It's a pigeon that like gets really beefy and he pulls out a minigun and starts fucking you up. There's like a king bullet with his like who comes in and starts firing bullets on his throne whilst his wife runs at you with a stick. And there are the two like the bullet twins that can do stuff. So they feel like the ones. So there are certain runs. If I hit Gatling Gull, I know I'm going to be struggling on the next level because I will take the most amount of damage against Gatling Gull. Whilst if I'm against the king bullet, I know full well I'm pretty much getting through here unscathed. Yeah. So it's that sort of level going, this is going to be a pain in the ass run. I know what I have to invest in the next level. The problem is you go down a level, suddenly everything's more expensive. I hate that. But you're not getting more bullets to spend, and it's just like, here you are. But they've got cool things like you can throw guns into like a gun chewer that gives you a different gun, and it's making that decision. It's a very well put together, like every choice matters. You have to manage all your resources, and I don't always feel that's the same with every roguelike. Sometimes I'm just like pumping shit in because it doesn't really matter where it goes. In Gungeon, you make one wrong mistake, you are fucked, because you've just gone, I've accidentally bought an item at the shop when I was trying to go to like, there's like a little I don't know how to, like, dispenser of health. It basically gives you free half health, but if you get too close and press X to the thing, you accidentally buy something. So I've all accidentally spent money that I didn't need to buy, and it's just shit like that. I got annoyed at that point and killed the shopkeeper.
Sounds right.
Attacked the shopkeeper, then he started shooting, so I hid, then I came back and he disappeared and closed up shop. But I think this is actually a really fun one. Like I think I put 5-6 hours into this game. I didn't get past the second level once, but I couldn't work out if I was bad or how but I didn't feel like the game was punishing me. Each time I felt like, this is just poor choices, this is poor choices. The time I got to the second boss, I felt like I could have beaten it if I'd done something different. No point. I was like, well, that's because I had a shit weapon. This game's not fair. I was like, oh no, that was my fault. Yeah. So I think they do weight it well, and it's just finding out what your balance is, but you can't hope for everything. But that's the same with every roguelike. Yeah. And it also looks great. it's good, fun, goofy things as well. Like
It's very bright. It's what I
very
like.
bright. Like I don't understand. Like I found something that keeps coming out of cage going, do you want to drop something for me? I'm like, how do I drop something for you? What do you want, weird little gremlin man? And like you'd find people trapped in a cage and there's like a lock on the front with eyes on, like going, wrong key, woo, and laughing at you. Like it's stupid little jokey fun bits in there. I'll talk about something that I found that is my play of the game. But like, so Gatling Gull is a fucking buff pigeon with a Gatling gun. Like, it's good, stupid, simple fun. Like,
I like conceptually, but hate while playing how different the effectiveness of guns is.
yes.
There are some guns that are absolute garbage,
Yep.
and there are some you find where you just win.
Yeah.
There's one that I think is like an electric gun that like chains enemies, and that thing's sick.
That's cool. There was a Crown of Guns where you walk around and you just fire bullets from everywhere and stuff like that. But I'm going to talk about one weapon that I found that made me really laugh. But yeah, that's it. I think they're all entertaining games by the sound of it. I genuinely think, as you said, yours says playtime may vary. I could argue the same for Gungeon to a degree. I was thinking about it. Obviously, I've only played 2 of them, but if you told me I had 10 minutes to play a game, I would jump onto the Gungeon of the 2 I've played. If you said I had an hour, I'm jumping onto Returnal.
This is what I was going to say. I think this is the first episode where I've played all 3 games and all 3 could make an appearance in that structure.
Yeah.
I think if I have 10 minutes, I'm playing Risk of Rain.
Okay.
If I have half an hour, I'm playing Gungeon. If I have an hour, I'm playing Returnal.
Yeah.
Like, they all serve very different niches.
Yeah.
Returnal, you need to give yourself time to fucking get into it.
Yeah.
Gungeon, you have to accept that you're going to have some shit runs.
Yeah.
And it's going to go. Risk of Rain is the same, but it's like, if you are having a bad run in Risk of Rain, you're just going to fucking die.
Yeah.
Gungeon, you can, like, tough it out and
luck your
maybe
way
get to
through it.
mid-floor 2 and get caught by, like, a stray bullet.
Yeah.
Risk of Rain, you're going to summon the first boss and he's going to wipe you off the planet. And then you start again.
I know looks-wise, because of the sort of like top-down sort of pixel thing, I do feel that Gungeon has a very similar vibe in runs to Binding of Isaac. I not obviously Isaac is much more difficult in, I think, they're both very difficult,
Yes.
but it's obviously creepy and weird and stuff as Isaac, but it has that same vibe of you can sort of tough your way through something.
You can make situations work.
But I feel that's Returnal. You can tough your way through. You can get stuff, and I think I found Returnal more satisfying. Is the way I would look at it. When I was playing, I felt more satiated when I was doing Returnal and doing well than whenever I was doing well in Gungeon. Whenever I did well in Returnal, I was like, oh god, that feels great. And even when I was doing poorly, I was like, I'm still getting something. Whilst I didn't feel that every run with Gungeon. Some runs in Gungeon just felt completely fucking worthless.
There was more rarely a point in Returnal where I was like, I'm fucked now.
Yeah.
There are some guns you find where you're like, I don't like this gun.
I picked up this shotgun. I thought it'd be good, but it's actually the widest spread shotgun
Yeah.
by mistake. I'm like, I'm going to do nothing with it.
There was rarely a case where I'm like, I found this gun and this is like shit.
Yeah.
There are a few times, like you mentioned, this happens a lot in Binding of Isaac. It does happen in Gungeon as well, where you find your weapons. You're like, this run's just fucked.
Yeah.
This is just a dead run.
Yeah.
And like where Risk of Rain differs is it's more like quantity.
Right.
Nothing in Risk. There is no single item in Risk of Rain that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
It's just getting as many items as you can.
Yeah.
Which is where that time factor comes in. Then, 'cause you're like, how much do I want to go exploring to find more money and more items at the risk of the difficulty going up before I find the teleporter? There's less of that. Like, I know where I'm at. It's more like looking at it 4 minutes. 5 is where the difficulty goes up, and I'm like, I know where the teleporter is, but do I want to go find another item?
Just from like a newbie's perspective on this, I will make the argument for Returnal in that I think I enjoyed Returnal. I'll go back to it. As I said, I don't think I would have enjoyed playing either of your games.
This is an argument for Returnal, I think, is of the 3,
Yeah.
it is the one that probably, this feels weird to say,
Most
but
accessible?
Yeah.
they're all fucking like tough as nails. I think from a difficulty perspective, I think Risk of Rain is the most accessible because I reckon you could play the longest without having your shit wrecked.
Right, okay.
But also, it is the least total playtime before you get your shit wrecked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you...
Like, Gungeon is hard on its core, but it is like a flat level of hard. Returnal is hard, but you can get into it. You can work it out.
what I think was interesting is obviously like you're a newbie. That's you'd feel like Returnal, you wouldn't like these ones, but then you played Crypto Necrodancer and you got surprisingly into that. And I would argue that's similar vibes to like a Gungeon or a Risk of Rain, because it's that much quicker reason.
Yeah.
But I in my head, I think Returnal deserves most entertaining in this one.
I think it's we flip-flop over what this category means.
Yeah.
I think it's the best of the three.
Yeah.
I also think it's the one that if you said to me someone has to play a roguelike, and you gave me all the options in front of me of what we bought, obviously, because if it's everything, I'm being like, just play fucking Hades, mate.
Yeah.
But of the three, I'm probably going, Returnal. And if you like Returnal, then play these.
Yeah.
That's it. So
that order isn't going backwards.
No, I wouldn't want to argue which was second or third or anything like that. It's just, I think Returnal probably takes it just because of all the things to talk about. Accessibility, story-based, and the sort of feel of actually progressing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, points to Returnal.
Yay!
Cool. So we're all on our points. It all comes down to player of the game.
Yes.
Which is a real fucking nightmare one to come down to. Especially on this, because I thought, when I was playing, I was like, is play of the game going to come down to all of us beating the first boss? Because it very much, because that's what a roguelike is. You get that moment of beating a boss, and you're like, whoa, there we are. Your first final boss. Your first boss. You're going to go, yes, I've made it to the level 2. I'm so good.
Yeah, mine's not that.
But no, but I don't think any of us have gone that route necessarily.
No.
I don't know.
Mine's like half that route.
Well, mine was going to be that, because I thought Gatling Gull was really funny, and I was like seeing him for the first time, but I've gone for something else. It's just it's a weird.
Since it's in that route, I'm happy to do it first. So, like I said, the way this is built is you do a level, you find the teleporter. When you activate the teleporter, it spawns a boss, and then you beat the boss, you go through the teleport to the next area. And the first, 5 fucking runs I had, I kept getting this boss called the Stone Titan.
Right,
which is this massive fucking rock man. He fires a laser which can only be blocked by, terrain. You can't dodge it because it's consistent. He does, big slam attacks and everything. And I could not fucking beat him.
Right.
Could not beat the Stone Titan. Don't know what my luck was that I got him every fucking time, but just could not deal with him. And after a while, I'm like, I think I'm getting the hang of this game. And I get a few items, and I'm having a better run, and I get to the end. It's a different boss. It's a boss called the Wandering Vagrant, who's a big jellyfish. And he just fires, electricity balls that you can shoot out of the air.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this is fucking great. I'm getting really good at this. Beat him. Shoot him, get him, beat him. Brilliant. I get to go through the teleporter. I've succeeded. Hurrah. Go through the teleporter. Get to area 2. It's a big, desert wasteland area. I wandered this fucking desert wasteland for, I think, 10 minutes. I cannot find the fucking teleporter. I have looted every container, every item in this fucking area. I am as overpowered as I can fucking get. Still can't find the teleporter. I finally find it, tucked behind a rock, and I'm like, yeah, I'm so fucking powerful. What have you got for me, game? Yeah. I activate the teleporter. It's the Stone Titan. He smashes me into the ground. I'm like, no, my nemesis. It's I could not beat him the first time. I'm like, yeah, I've got my items. I've got my fucking strategy. I know what I'm doing.
Have you beat him since?
I've beat him once.
Fucking hell,
the others, I've beaten several times. To be fair, I've seen 4 bosses. Yeah. I've seen the Wandering Vagrant, who's pretty easy to beat. I found the Beetle Queen, who's fairly easy to beat. Her problem is she spawns a shitload of ads.
Right.
So if you can dodge out of the way of them and deal the damage, it's all right, and piece it together. I play as the ranger character, and one of their things is an AoE arrow attack, which is helpful for dealing with that. And then there's Stone Titan. There's one called the Magma Worm, which is a big snake thing that goes in and out of the ground, and that fucked me up as well.
But he's definitely the worst.
Yeah, I just can't work out how to deal with him, and the amount of damage he does is absurd.
Right.
But I just I was so ready to keep progressing, and I finally didn't see him. Yeah, I'm in the fucking roll. I got it. Got all my items. He comes back. I'm like, oh mate.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds.
I'll take you. Smashes me.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Why?
I'll go next because it's completely other end of where this is. So in this game, you go around, you kill things, you pick up items, and you move on. You're finding different guns. There's your standard pistol. You got crossbows. I said there was the King of the Crown of Guns, which just fires in a circle. There's a laser gun. There's a gamma ray. It's all these sort of things. But they also drop ammo for you to pick up. But you can choose the weapon you want to pick up the ammo.
Yeah.
But it comes in a green box. Apart from I didn't realise how they worked beforehand. I was just pressing X, it's not picking up. Didn't realise I had to switch to the other weapon.
I think I did the same.
So I didn't realise that was ammo things in there until I saw a bullet drop out. I was like, oh, there we go. There's some ammo. Picked it up. I was like, cool. I've reloaded. Off I went into the next room and started shooting, not realising what I'd actually picked up was a weapon, because it wasn't a box to it. And what it is it's called bullet, and it's a bullet that shoots guns. So it just fires random guns that start spinning and firing in random circles. And I went into here going, this guy's really easy. He's just in front of me. And I just started spraying guns everywhere, missed him, and ran into the guy when I only had half a health and died because I picked up a gun called Bullet.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a brilliant... I literally laughed. I was like, I can't be annoyed that I died because that is such a brilliant idea for a weapon.
I've had something similar. I think there's a spitball gun that does no damage. And I picked it up, I'm like, I'm ready to fucking go.
No, nothing.
Oh! Like, yeah, that's how Gungeon is. You have guns that do like shitloads of damage, and you have ones like that where it's like, oh cool, guess I'll die.
Guess I'm doing nothing. Yeah, it was good fun. I liked it. Play the game.
So my play of the game was me getting my shit wrecked.
Oh, you played Returnal, yeah.
So yeah, no, it was really like probably about an hour in, okay, and I'd seen like some little enemies. I'd managed to like beat them and get a couple of little bits and bobs, and I thought I was doing pretty well. I was like, I've done an hour, I haven't died yet. Like, yeah, lovely exploring. Took a couple of photos on photo mode. I was feeling very comfortable, very almost cocky, I guess you could say, because I was like, well, considering I know what's going to happen and I'm going to have to go back to the ship at some point, this is quite easy. I don't know what Josh was complaining about, really, you know. So I'm exploring now, and you're going to try and find where the signal is coming from, right? Yeah. So there's this little bit, and you have to kind of jump down these little things to get to the bottom, and can't see anything. Everything looks very pretty. There's lots of like nice glowy tentacles around. It's very nice, right? So I'll take it a photo on photo mode now, being like, yeah, lovely.
Perfect.
Great. Jump down these little bits like that. You can see a little thing to pick up. So I'm there, I'm holding triangle, and this absolutely unholy noise comes from behind me, and I turn around, and bearing in mind, right, if you've ever played Returnal, at the moment the only thing I've come across are those weird little blue lizard like enemies, right, that shoot things at you. Yeah. It's okay, I've managed to get around them a couple of times, no problem. This thing can only be described as a behemoth, right? Where I've literally never seen anything like it. I've just had these fucking lizard people. I turn around, he's this massive, like, red horned thing, right? I shit myself. I did one couple of gun things. I'm shooting so much that my gun runs out immediately, and it's like, I need to recharge. So I'm trying to now jump back up on the thing, but I keep forgetting that it's not double X for a double jump, right? Yeah. So I'm jumping up this thing. I can hear this fucking footsteps coming up behind me. I'm still double tapping on the X because I'm panicking like fuck, right? So I'm trying to get up. I'm like bouncing on the spot. This thing just fucking one hits me, right? I'm fucking out. I'm back in the ship. And I can only think that that is on purpose to make you go back, to show you what happens, because then there's like a little cutscene and everything, right? But when I tell you the fear and panic I felt, see, it was gotta be fucking like, what, fucking 10 feet tall fucking horn thing, when I've been really cocky taking my photos on photo mode, being like, well, Returnal's not that bad. Shit was wrecked. I fucking shit myself.
I'll be honest, I misheard you and thought you said it was a bear moth.
I thought you said
and I was
bear
like,
moth.
That Returnal was weirder than I thought.
No, a bear moth.
Yeah, I know what you said afterwards.
I like picked it up afterwards. Yeah. I was like, what kind of fucking bear moth is it? Behemoth, the same.
I probably said it wrong.
I think both are fine.
I'm really tired.
I think both are absolutely fine. It's just, I thought you said bear moth. I was like, what the fuck is a bear moth?
Yeah. I was like, that sounds like a cool enemy.
It was like a big horned fucking devil thingy, and I shit myself. I really shit myself. And the fact that even in my brain, I was shitting myself so much that I was like, it's X and circle, you silly bitch. And I still wasn't pressing the buttons.
I think it was a regular feeling in Returnal, where you're just like, oh, a new enemy. What the fuck are you going to do to me then?
Yeah, you're like, oh, good. Normally it's not even like one of those horrible enemies. Goes, oh, look at this horrible enemy, but don't worry, we've given you a bunch of other little enemies to deal with. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
When you go to a new area, you see a new enemy, you're like, right, how are you going to wreck my shit
Yes,
today?
because you're going to move much faster than I can again.
Yeah.
So when you get to World 3 and it's like the machines, you're like, well,
Yeah, fuck you
fuck
guys.
you. It's
Yeah,
not right.
fuck you, Vex. Cool. So, whose player of the game are we all voting for? And the answer is we're all voting for our own because no one wants to give the point to anyone else.
I'm trying to think which one, like,
But I
builds the love of it.
I mean, I genuinely don't know if mine's that good. I just feel like Gungeon doesn't lend itself to any spectacular
No,
moments.
it's very, like, rigid.
It
very
is
structured.
It is structured. It's got. I mean, I love the character interaction. I genuinely love the feel of it. I just don't think there's a moment that goes, "This is the moment that defines Gungeon." Maybe the second I get the fucking bullet of the past that kills something, will do. But that's not ever happening because I'm not good enough at the game. It's just one of those. It's a weird game that just feels like, here you go, here's some random stuff. You'll have a fun time, but at no point are you gonna go, come and check and see what I've done, because it just doesn't have that feel to it.
Like, I'm just trying to think of any like qualifier to
I'm trying
break
to see
it
if
down.
I'm trying to see if you guys will argue for yours over the other person's
Like
before I abstain from voting.
The reason I went with this play of the game, and this is sort of how I argue a lot of my play of the games, and sort of how I decide them, I think, because it's how I think about the category, is mine feels like emblematic of the roguelike experience, where because it's random and because there's like so much random shit you can pick up, and in this it's like, how long does it take you to find the teleporter? So what like difficulty is it on? How many items did you manage to find? What items did you manage to find? And it was a combination of finally having the run where you could get past that stuck point, and like you feel that a lot in things like in Gungeon, in Hades, and things like that, where it's, I've got the right combination of boons and upgrades and weapons that I can get past this boss.
But you also took so long that it made it twice.
But also, nothing I did mattered.
No.
It just, I found a different boss. And then the same boss came back and reminded me that I am just a small cog in this machine of death, and I should suffer.
You got anything to say, Karis? You like...
Unfortunately, this is going to end really badly for me, because to be perfectly honest, I do want to give this Darren, but that means that you two are going to tie and I'm going to have to do the fucking stream again.
Oh yeah, tie it win, it will be you to stream, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to do that.
After your own, which would you vote for?
Honestly, I know the feeling of like that thing with Darren said. I know it through and through. That's the problem.
Fucking hell, I'm streaming again.
I do think it has to be Darren.
Oh my fucking god.
That's the thing. I have to go with the second places. It would depend on what you had said, because mine would be Gungeon.
Oh, would it?
Yeah, because it's that feeling of, like, I've had the Returnal feeling in a lot of games. The Gungeon feeling is a distinctly roguelike experience where you're like, oh, this is the item I've been gifted with. What is it? It's a bullet that fires guns. Guess I'll fucking die.
Yeah.
But this is like the progression, and then still sucking.
I'm sorry, Karis.
At least it wasn't a tie this time.
Fuck off. Actually, fuck off. Twat. Oh, you know, shut up.
Don't worry, I'll lose next season.
So
You fucking won't, though.
I might, though.
I'll lose
Oh,
again.
you're right, I'm going to win next season, Josh will lose.
I mean, I think we need to do something about it because me and Darren haven't lost yet. So maybe we'll have to look at how we do the scoring.
Bring Paul back, so he can lose again instead.
Do you have anything you want to say?
Just
Karis?
wrap this up. I need to pee, and I'm frustrated. I'm done now. What the fuck am I gonna stream?
Resi 3.
Okay.
You do the entirety of Resi 3 in one stream. That'd be
Okay.
easy.
I think you should stream Persona, and then I will play it at the same time and chat with you in the chat about it.
Resident Evil 3 you can do in a single stream.
You could.
Easy.
Right. Let's fucking do it then.
Or we can do something more difficult.
Play Necrodance
We'll work
until you
it
beat
out.
it.
We'll
I don't like it when you say we'll work it out.
Play
I mean,
Necrodancer until you
point,
beat it.
There's no point debating it now because we could be debating for an hour what we're going to do. So so that's the end of another season.
It is.
We do have our our loser, I'm afraid, has now been selected.
Again, it's all of us because we make a gaming podcast.
We will be doing a longer stream with Keris, having a lovely time. I mean, just do a Resi one again as another cosplay.
Do the same stream. And
do the same thing.
No. What we should do is like start up the live stream and just make it so your screen is the YouTube video of the last stream and just pretend it's live.
I love that. Let's do that. Yeah.
But yeah, we will have another episode for this like fight, which will be reflected back over this season.
Yeah, the review.
So that'll be next month. But yeah, do make sure if you enjoy this to check us out wherever you get, a longer version on YouTube at disccountpod, where all of our old streams have now been put up, along with, all those episodes. The streams that we're talking about, which Keris is going to have to do as a punishment, is going to be found on Twitch at disccountpod as well. And if you want to find out more things from us, check us out on Instagram at disccountpod. And if you want to see us all individually, Josh happily feeling like he's won at Discount Josh, Darren feeling happily like he's won at Discount Darren, Keris in a pit of despair at Discount Keris. She's very happy. She can't wait to do this.
She's having the best time.
Best time is
so
what
happy.
It is.
You two are twat.
Yeah.
No random genre generator this month.
Nice.
Random generator genre.
Smooth.
Shut up, loser. Thank you all for being our player 4s. We'll catch you all soon. Anything you want to say before we go?
No.
We need to pee. Bye, guys.
Bye.